things.
Yo, let's talk about boosted, right?
Boosted boards.
Boosted boards. I'm here with my homie Anthony. It's Jermaine back on another video. So we're gonna dive in. We're gonna talk about boosted boards right now and the death of boosted boards, because this week has been a pretty bad week and we've discovered some pretty bad things about boosted.
Oh, where to start?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start, right?
I don't know. I got my board back in 2014. That was a few years after.
Oh gosh, you started like this.
Yeah, after the company was out for a few years. But in the past week, there was posts all over Instagram, their Facebook. It's pretty much well known. There's an insane amount of blog posts and I'd say even blogs about this. But Boosted has basically announced that they are done. They are no more. They thanked us all for a great run. They basically said that they laid off a majority, I think 95% of their staff, which was like roughly over 130, 140 people. And it's unfortunate. In the past 4, 5 years, 6 years I've been riding the boards, I've gotten to meet a bunch of people from all over the world that ride e-boards now, and this boosted community has kind of helped start that. I've ridden boards with people from Chicago, New York, Miami, Sacramento, LA, San Diego, most of California, Colorado.
It's like making me sad, dude.
Yeah.
This is literally like you sitting here naming these cities is making me sad. Keep going. I don't want to cut you off, but
it was it's bittersweet. It was a great run, but it's the company. In our personal opinions, because we've both been riding boosted boards. How many years have you been riding them now?
What, 4 years?
4 years. So yeah, between both of us, we have over a decade on boosted boards, and it's kind of depressing. They were one of the leaders of the e-board community. They were the ones that kind of started everything. So now trying to figure out what's going on is kind of sad. Like,
how many miles do you have on your board? How many boards do you have? First off, you got the V1.
I had 4. Now I have 2. I sold another one of them not too long ago, and I sold my V1 2 years ago. I think I vlogged that. But yeah, I had 4 at one point in time. That V1 now has had, I think it has over 7,000 miles, if I heard correctly from the guy I sold it to.
7,000
yeah,
miles?
I had over about 4,500 on that board when I sold it, and he put another 2,000, I believe, on it. And then between my other boards, I mean, there's another, I don't know, roughly about another 10,000 on those boards. So between 4 boards, I've gone roughly about 17,000, 18,000 miles in the past 6 years.
Wow, so I have 4 boards. All 4 of my boards are V2s, and the first one has like 4,500 miles, and then the second one has, I think, 1,800. The third have 23, and the fourth is about, I think, 25 or something. I just kind of got to the point where one would break down and I would buy another one, and then I would just buy another one, and I just love collecting them. Yeah. You know, and then the more you buy, the more chargers you accumulate, the more batteries you accumulate. And when did you stop riding? Because I think that's a question that's very important too, because I know a lot of boosted fans, people that love boosted, but then they've sort of stopped riding.
I personally stopped riding boosted like religiously about a year ago. I just noticed, and it had a little bit to do with, like, I started dating my current girlfriend right now, so we got pretty serious. And she lives in a different part of the city, so where we would meet up for our group rides on weekends is actually at the opposite end of the city. So it didn't make sense for me to ride 3.5 miles there, charge, and then basically ride 3.5 miles back to, you know, where my girlfriend and I constantly live now. And over that time, you know, obviously the e-skate community has evolved and changed within just that year. I was one of the first, I'd say, original 20 people in Bay Area e-skate back in 2017. We had just a bunch of smaller groups, and then all those smaller groups kind of converged and got together and made a group of about 20-something people. And then that 20-something people turned into Bay Area e-skate. Then over time, we just kept word of mouth, and then it grew from 20 members to 100 to 150 to 200. Then it started just, we got cards, we had little lanyards made, we had little keychains, we had these cards that you just give out to people. Usually I'd have one to show you guys. But once those cards started happening, I probably was giving out 50 of those a week.
What?
It was nuts. I'd see new people at the East something and just give them out a card. Like, hey, I don't want to sound weird, take this card, join our group, you'll have a lot of fun. And for the past few years, we've had fun. But being a person that's had a boosted board since 2014, I started to notice the changes in the company up already happening in about 2016 and the beginning of 2017. I mean, 2017, the V2, if I'm correct, was when the V2 dropped and it blew everyone's minds. They basically fixed some of the old problems, like the wires that are under the board, what connects the battery to the ESC. That is now through the board, so you're not standing on those wires anymore. That's one of the big things I noticed. And then they put two Bluetooths in it, if I'm correct, so you don't have cutouts in big cities like we used to on our V1s, which is hella sketch.
Yes.
If you don't know how to power slide or foot brake, you're in for not a good time.
You're in for a beep, 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 beep.
Yeah.
Cut off, and you better hear those beeps. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what's going on?
You'll be roadkill.
Yeah, you'll find out very fast. But with the V2, they upgraded that, and it worked so much better. I really never had a V2 cutoff on me unless I didn't charge the remote or I pressed the button while I was riding.
The boards were clean. Like they looked amazing. I remember
the style, the weight.
The weight was nice. It was just there was one thing though that they still kind of dropped the ball on, where they switched out the first generation trucks for their second gen. I don't know why. And then the V2 trucks started snapping on everyone. That was a big downfall. And then
that did happen. But you know that. It was like a bad thing, but it didn't happen to that many people. It definitely was popping up in the New York groups, because during that summer I was in New York, and we would just hear about it, you know, and people would get afraid because back then the groups were more than 50% boosted. Did you hear that? More than 50% boosted.
Yeah,
all right,
up until at least 2017, at least half of the groups, all the groups in the United States, half of them hands down were boosted or evolve or something like that.
Well, nowadays, and also evolve. Nowadays, I don't see any evolves anymore.
Yeah. Boosted and evolves are basically obsolete now. They're the great middle ground beginner boards to a point, if that makes sense.
Which kind of sounds crazy because back then, boosted and evolve was like the most expensive. They're like the only boards out there that you could get. I mean, there's a couple, Chinese boards you can get for like $500. But if you wanted a go-to board, you went with boosted, you went with evolve. Now, boosted and evolve, they're irrelevant, and they're like basically beginner boards.
Yeah.
And now you got like $4,000 skateboards that are like the cool boosted board that was cool a couple of years ago. Remember back in the day, the group rides. I don't know how it was in the Bay Area because a couple of summers ago, I spent the whole summer in New York.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for like 3 months, and I hung out with the groups every day. And majority of people, like I say, everybody had boosted. And the group rides were very different. They were very like charge and hang out and charge. It was very, very social. Nowadays, when I go to the group rides, it's not really a group ride anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
It's more like a group race.
Yep.
And it's like every single weekend, there's accidents. It's just not like it used to be.
People aren't spatially aware. You have so many newbies haven't started on Boost or Evolve, or even like the budget boards like Cool Wheel or Meepos or something like that, and go straight into buying a LaCroix or something. And then it's just like, you're not spatially aware, you're going to run into people, and you're most likely going to hurt yourself too because you haven't been riding the boards that long.
Yeah, but then another problem too, when you got lacrosse out there, and you also have
LaCroix.
LaCroix out there, and then you also have Cool Wheels out there.
Yeah.
I mean, those can't compete either. Like,
yeah.
And at some of the rides, it's just like I remember I went to one ride. The guy had a gas scooter.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
And if you wasn't in front of him, like you had to be really, 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 really far behind him because you're gonna have gas in your face.
Yeah.
And who wants gas in your face? So I noticed that like the group rides change. It's becoming more of a group race. I remember back then, I would just wear a helmet.
Yeah.
The majority of everyone else just had a helmet. 22 miles an hour was good enough.
Yeah. 22 was like one of the top speeds. Now,
I mean, that's like slow.
We have people going 40, 50 miles an hour on their boards top speed. It is ridiculous.
There are people easily going 50 miles an hour. I was just bumming a hill recently. You know that hill out by Ocean Beach?
Oh yeah.
You ride down that hill.
It's basically Ocean Avenue or something like that.
Yeah, Ocean Avenue. I was hitting 37 going down the hill. 37 on my electric bike. and I'm just looking out, I'm holding on for dear life, I'm shaking, I'm just holding on, right? There are skateboarders, like, it was at least 3, that they didn't just pass me, they blew past me. And I was just thinking to myself, I mean, how fast are you going?
Right.
I mean, I'm going like 37 here, and I'm shaking. I'm just having a blast. I mean, you are blowing past me. It's just like, wow, like this is insane. So that's kind of what it is now. And Boosted, I mean, you know, so everybody really wanted Boosted to fix the range thing. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what we really wanted.
Really wanted that range.
Okay, of course, you know, people like speed, but I totally get why Boosted didn't want to give us speed, because they don't want to be liable for it. They don't want to be selling a board that can go 40 miles an hour. But the range is what they didn't give us.
Yep.
And I
mean,
think that's where it really...
So, this is my opinions. This is kind of what I was wondering, like what I wanted from Boosted, just even when they started doing their ambassador program and stuff like that. I mean,
ambassador program.
Way back when I was like,
they would give you a board. And
yeah, like this is like way back when they started their ambassador program. I was thinking, hey, it would be cool if, you know, they could follow through on some of the things that we really need, like fixing the Bluetooth issue, making the boards a little bit stronger, giving us a bigger battery and longer range, which with the V2, a majority of those kind of got answered.
Yeah.
But they were kind of also dropped the ball. Now the problem is the Evolve boards that came out in 2017-18 have these big ass batteries that can go anywhere from 20 to 30 miles depending on how you're riding the board. Now with that being said, the Evolve board's decks are a lot stronger than Boosted's, because Boosted uses a loaded decks that flexed on the V1s and V2s. Mm-hmm. As soon as everyone got their batteries on the extended range batteries on the V2s, that battery, depending on how much you weigh, is right next to the trucks. So it causes a great amount of stress at that little part of the nose where the trucks align. Oh. And a lot of people's boards in 2018 basically started snapping because of these extended battery packs. And that's also unfortunate, because that means that Boosted had to figure out a way to make the battery pack stay on the board without it cracking, and then also keep basically the same feel. So in the V3, which neither of us bought, the V3s, basically what happened was they came out with a carbon fiber or whatever deck that sounded cool that was made in China, because they outsourced all their products now and their manufacturing to China to obviously cut the cost of production and their overhead costs. Speaking into that, China. It is 2020 is March 8th?
Yeah.
March 8th or whatever of 2020. And unfortunately, Trump still has a trade war with China, so it is affecting a lot of companies worldwide, or it is affecting a lot of companies in this nation. And with that being said, Boosted basically had to say on their post or on Instagram or their massive post that they've just blasted out to the community, hey, we can't afford this anymore, we're dropping the ball, Trump's trade war is costing us a lot of money, about 25% higher?
Yeah.
About 25%, he's taking 25% of their income, and it's just coming from the tariffs, so it's not feasible for them to stay in business, unfortunately.
Well, actually, Boosted owed a lot of vendors money.
Yeah.
And they sort of had you sort of have to get money from here and pay your vendors, and they're not getting enough money from here to pay their vendors. And this happens with businesses. This happens with really, really good businesses. Yep. Where you run out of cash. You basically run out of cash, and they, a couple years ago, instead of making better boards, they said, hey, we're gonna make these boards, and then we're gonna make this scooter. There was a huge rumor that Boosted would make an electric bike, which the electric bike market is so oversaturated. There's so many electric bikes. Every time I walk outside, there's a different one. So they went with a scooter, which is just as saturated market. I mean,
nobody was asking for a scooter.
No one was asking for a scooter, but I think the whole idea where they was going with that was, the guys would get the scooter for their girlfriend could ride the scooter and they could ride the skateboard, but that doesn't really work when you can't charge them at the same time. Like, it takes longer to charge a scooter versus the skateboard. Like,
like, I kind of understand what they were doing. They wanted to get into more of the e-market share. They saw the rise of the scooters and the e-bikes, and like, yes, let's get more pieces of the pie. But the problem is that they ran out of cash, and on top of it, they did not listen to their customer base. No one was asking for a scooter. What everyone was asking for was a better board with stronger trucks, bigger wheels, and insane range. Like, I'm talking 30, 35 miles, 40 on a single charge. You're talking 20 to 25 miles going up 20-degree incline hills here in San Francisco. And that's one of the biggest things that would annoy me when I would talk to other people around the world or around the Eastgate community from, like, say, you know, Illinois, where I'm from, or even like places in the Midwest, like Nebraska, which is really fucking flat, like really flat. And you have these people like, oh, my board does this, my board does this. It's like, dude, you are riding your board in mode 1 and you're on flat land. Of course it goes 14 miles. Then when you tell them, hey, in sport mode,
oh gosh.
Then when you tell them, hey, in sport mode, here in San Francisco, I get roughly about, weighing 175 pounds, I get roughly about 4 miles in sport mode.
Yeah.
And they can't believe that. It's like, dude, we have hills. This is the testing ground. Other than the Swiss Alps, this should be the testing ground for all e-board companies. If your board cannot hang it in San Francisco, then it's a piece of shit. I'm sorry. Hub motors, they're garbage. Anyone that rides hub motors, I'm sorry, but if you disagree, I don't care.
I'm not a fan of hub motors.
On top of that, too,
I love belt motors. That's another thing I love about Boosted. They got the belts, yo.
Yeah.
No hubs for them.
Like, I know there's a bunch of inertian fanboys out there, Meepos, whatever. Great. Hub motors are good for flat land, not that aggressive riding. If you really want to see what your hub motors can do, bring them out to San Francisco for a year. I will demo your board for a year for you before it breaks down. I guarantee it's only going to last a month or two. I watched a few inertian boards within the first 2 weeks break their axles or their hubs. I watched them split their trucks. Like, hands down, probably one of the worst. Like, that's another company that we could talk about too, but we're not going to get into that. That's a whole nother story.
Remember we were riding with Anthony that day, and his whole truck broke off?
His wheel just completely broke off.
This
was after 2 weeks, and he was bragging so much. This board goes so fast. This blah blah from Australia. It's like, bro, that board's heavy. It's hub motors. Those things are gonna fucking die. And sure enough, they all break. And this is how San Francisco is the testing grounds. If something's really good, you're going to see a majority of the people in group rides riding it. And right now what's happening is a lot of LaCroix and a lot of DIYs. Because everyone's starting to figure out how to make their own battery packs. Everyone's starting to figure out how to link them up to the ESCs. And then pretty much after that, everything else is almost easy. It's just it's basically all hardware. You have the board, you have the trucks, the bearings, washers, you have to figure out which bolts you want. But other than that, people are getting into the DIY so well that some of the Evo decks I see out now, I mean, a majority of them are riding 30 miles on a charge, and a lot of them are going up to at least 30, 35 miles an hour.
Which is insane, man. Like,
no production board to a point other than LaCroix and the Cali NYCs are basically doing that right now. Those are now the new kings of the road. LaCroix, Cali NYC. Metro board is also in the runnings because they've been doing this for years. Like, their old board didn't even have belts. It had a chain drive on it. How
they had a chain drive on a freaking Metro board.
Yeah, but they got the new Metro board out now, like the Metro RX or whatever.
Did they have like a 50-mile Metro board or something? A 40-mile range
right
Metro
here.
board?
Actually, I don't think it was that Metro board. It was the LaCroix, the new LaCroix Lone Star or whatever. It has so much range on it that the remote actually dies before the board. So you actually need 2 remotes to ride that thing for 1 charge of the battery, which is nuts. If anything, your remote should be dying like light years before your board. But this board has so much power and eats so much battery, you have to have 2 remotes to ride the whole entire route for your board, which is just nuts.
So does the remote have an LCD? I mean, we're supposed to be talking about Boosted.
I think so, but yeah, I think it does.
Okay, but anyway, back to Boosted. So, Boosted sent out this email basically saying, look, we're not saying that we're going out of business, but
we're kind of going out of business.
We're basically going out of business, all right? So we can see that the end of Boosted is coming. So now, the next question is what's going to happen with everyone who has a board now? Will you be able to get parts in the future? Will Boosted sell off a branch of their company to someone else and we can still get parts? Will we just never ever hear from them again? If you go to their website right now, like all of their items are sold out, which is just kind of weird because obviously that if we go down to the headquarters in Mountain View, there's obviously skateboards sitting in the factory.
Right.
Like, but they've just said that, you know, everything's sold out, which is, I don't get it. I guess they didn't sell enough of those boosted beams and they didn't sell enough of the boosted
105s.
Yeah, the 105s. Did the 105s take away from the battery?
A little. It's one of those things too. It also depends on the rider. It also depends on where you're riding. Depends on how many hills you're going up. Like one of my friends put the 105s on his board, said he didn't really notice anything. I'm like, yeah, but then again, you don't really ride that much, so it doesn't. Like I can't really take your opinion, you know, like to heart. But yeah, if you put it with an aggressive rider, you're definitely gonna see at least a mile and a half of range come off of your board, maybe 2. And I ride my boards insanely hard.
Yeah, but you also have a lot of batteries there, don't you?
Yeah, that's true.
Thinking of batteries, like myself, I have a bunch of batteries too. I wonder what's going to happen with batteries. Are the prices of batteries going to go up? You think the prices are?
Oh, yeah.
How much are they on Amazon?
I don't know. Probably like $70, $50 for a standard, probably like $300 for extended. But now all those prices are going to go.
Yeah, I got 4 standard range batteries right now. But my problem is I don't have any motors. Like I have 4 boards and no working motors.
Talk to Vargas.
Yeah.
Vargas has sold 2 for like $120 a piece.
Yeah, well,
and that's roughly how much they sell them for from Boosted anyway. So
I thought they were like $100 from Boosted.
No, I think they like it. Well, maybe they were. It still doesn't matter. He just made $20 on each one, so.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because Boosted's not selling any.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of those things that I wish that they would sell on their website, but they never sold motors on the website. And this is one reason why I would constantly buy a new board. Like I would get to the point where like I'm like, look, like I need a new motor and like there's another board over here for sale for like $700.
Back in 2016,
lights?
They finally came out with the wheels this year. Same with the lights. We were asking for lights 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was even wondering what this extra port was underneath the front of the battery. I was like, what's that thing? And they're like, oh, something's coming.
I'm so sorry. They waited so long.
So bad.
Lights.
So the batteries.
The lights should have came out like right after the V2 came out.
Yep.
And like they waited for the V3 to get old before they came out with the lights.
Yeah. Yep.
And we discovered that port a long time ago. Like they would have sold those lights. Like we would have already had like 3 or 4 sets of lights already by now.
Yep.
Just think if they would have had those lights 3 years ago.
Yeah.
How many big wheels? How many more big wheels we would have? Like I would probably have 4 or 5 sets. But that's all that money that they lost out on. Even the backpack. If they would have had the backpack years ago. You know, I understand that you just can't like snap your fingers and have all these products but just pop out. But these are things that, oh my gosh, like
they just didn't listen to their community. They saw more of the numbers, in my personal opinion, of what the market was doing, and just like, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. We need to get part of that. We need to get a piece of that, instead of actually listening to their long-term customers and really, really listening. Like, hey, we really want a board with insane range. Hey, we want a board with even better motors. Hey, we want a board that has even comfier wheels. Yes, some of those happened. Better battery happened around 2018, and then you have like the wheels and like motors never really changed. So yeah, the wheels.
I gotta call you out on the battery. So we can say it's a better battery, but anyone else that rides any other skateboards are gonna say that wasn't a better battery.
Oh no, yeah, it's still, in my complete opinion, it's still.
I mean, but compared to what we had before, 5 miles versus 10 miles, and I'm talking about real world miles, because if you want to go with boosted miles, they're gonna say 7 and 14.
Yeah.
But how you and I ride, it's more like about 5 and about 10. And when I mean 5 on the standard range battery and 10 on the extended range battery.
Yeah. And that's if you're not riding up any hills.
Yeah, that's if it's not windy. If you're riding up hills and it's windy, forget about it.
For example, there's a few hills in the city, like certain parts of 17th Street, Fell, Goff. There's a few hills in the city that are just known to be decently steep. I'm talking like, I don't know, they're probably 12 to 15 degree grades, but when you're going up them, they feel almost like this. You go up 2 of those hills between 2 blocks, you're just saying goodbye on an extended range battery to one of your bars, and that's over 2 miles of range. For 2 blocks. And that's another thing that's a disconnect in the Eastgate community, because other people around the nation that don't have these hills do not understand that. The range on these boards sucks. And that's something that they should have fixed. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
It does suck, but you know, this is my whole thing about boosted. This is my theory about boosted, and this is something that I think that maybe a lot of people haven't really thought about. Maybe boosted, maybe their whole thing was never range.
It wasn't too. It was more of get from A to B. It's like a small there's a small last mile board. Basically,
it's basically made for the college campus.
Yeah.
The Google campus, the Facebook campus.
because you have to remember the founders of this company were 3 guys from MIT that basically got tired of walking between college campus classes. Like, we need a quicker way and something that we can take inside. So they built their first e-board. That was back in like 2009 or some shit. Maybe it's 2007, maybe even a little bit before. But if I remember the story correctly, the first board was nuts. It went like almost 30 miles an hour. They had no brakes on the thing. They're pretty much almost dying on their way to classes. But still, it did the job. Then what happened was, once the board actually debuted, they started having a bunch of beta testers. Back around the beginning of 2014, I started seeing a few people on these boards. I'm talking like 2, maybe 3 people in San Francisco. Maybe 3.
So weird.
I may have became like number 4 or number 5 in the city. And then, I bought my board beginning in 2014. And then from there it took off, and it was weird. Like, back then, the customer service back then was unmatched. Like,
I don't know. I got an electric bike. You're probably gonna get a unicycle.
yeah,
or
I'm
something.
getting like an electric unicycle, probably an electric e-bike. Yeah, I guess this is it, guys.
Hey guys, I'm just sitting here editing this video, and I just noticed a massive mistake. When we were filming this video, I was filming with my DSLR, like my big camera, and my homie was filming with his phone, and with the phone, it gives feedback to the microphone. So if the audio is really bad in parts of this stream, I apologize about that. I know not to have someone film next to a DSLR with a cell phone camera. Yeah.
Comment, subscribe, whatever. You check out Jermaine's blog, and I will put his link in the comments, and I will also put his link in the description up here. Make one of these boxes.